Have you ever been at a market, maybe a flea market, or even online, haggling for a better price? Well, there's this one phrase, this kind of universal tactic that you've probably heard a million times, or let's be honest, maybe even used yourself. Today, we're going to dive into the pretty surprising science and ancient wisdom behind that tactic and what it really truly costs us. So, picture a market in Japan. You might hear someone say this, warui warui, which just means it's bad, it's bad. It's the classic sound of a buyer trying to knock a few bucks off the price. They'll point out a tiny scratch, a little imperfection, anything to justify a lower offer. And it seems totally harmless, right? I mean, it's just part of the game. But what if that simple little phrase has a hidden psychological price tag? Okay, let's bring this into today. Imagine this scene. Someone's looking for a used smartphone online. Step 1, the find. They see one that's a fantastic deal, they know it. Step 2, the haggle. They meet the seller and start saying things like, oof, the screen color's a little off, or, the battery life, even though they know it's perfectly fine. And then step 3, the brag. They walk away with a lower price, and what's the first thing they do? They text their friend, dude, I got an incredible deal. So this whole performance, this it's bad bargain, it's a universal human thing. It happens everywhere, across cultures, and as we're about to see, across time. But where does it really come from? And more importantly, what is it actually doing to our brains? And this is where things get really wild. That exact 3-step dance we just described, finding something you know is good, calling it bad to get a deal, and then immediately boasting about how good it is, this isn't some new trick from the internet age. Nope. It was observed and written down thousands of years ago. The secret has been hiding in plain sight, in a place you might not expect to find negotiation advice, the book of Proverbs. And there it is, Proverbs chapter 20, verse 14. It's bad, says the buyer. Then he goes away and boasts. I mean, come on. That is our smartphone story, almost word for word, written down more than 2,500 years ago. It just shows you how deep this behavior runs in our DNA. So the proverb isn't just telling a story, it's pinpointing a very specific tactic. Let's give it a name, manipulative labeling. This is when the word bad isn't actually about the real quality of the thing. It's being used as a weapon, a strategic tool to just force the price down. All right, so at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, I get it. It's a little white lie, a fib, to save some money. What's the big deal? And that is the perfect question, because the harm is way bigger than you'd think, and it's all hiding just beneath the surface. So let's pull back the curtain and look at the true price of that harmless lie. Because there are these unseen costs that mess with your psychology, your actual brain chemistry, and even your future. We can actually break these hidden costs down into 4 main areas. First, there's this internal battle called cognitive dissonance. Second, your brain literally starts to adapt and become desensitized to lying. Third, you've got the real-world social fallout, your reputation. And fourth, a kind of sneaky one, it just makes the whole market worse for everyone. Okay, let's tackle that first one, cognitive dissonance. It's the fancy term for that weird, uncomfortable feeling you get when your actions just don't match up with what you actually believe. It's like a mental glitch. And here's that conflict, plain and simple. Your action, which you're saying out loud, is, this phone is bad. But your belief, which you're thinking on the inside, is, wow, this phone is great and I really want it. That clash creates this mental static, this discomfort that your brain just hates and wants to get rid of fast. So how do we get rid of that uncomfortable feeling? Well, the proverb told us exactly how 2,500 years ago. We boast about it. That brag isn't just celebrating. It's actually a psychological hack. It reframes the lie. Suddenly, it wasn't a lie. It was a smart move or a savvy negotiation. That little story we tell ourselves fixes the dissonance, and this is the key part. It makes it so much easier to do it all over again next time. And that next time is where the neurological cost really kicks in. Studies have shown that when we tell a lie, a part of our brain called the amygdala lights up, giving us that pang of guilt or anxiety. But here's the scary part. As you can see on this chart, the first lie, big response. But the 10th lie, the response is way, way weaker. Our brain literally gets used to being dishonest, paving the way for bigger lies down the road. And finally, let's not forget the real-world social cost. Back to our smartphone buyer. Turns out their little tactic got noticed. The seller talked to other sellers, and pretty soon that buyer got a reputation. They got blacklisted from the online community, which meant they lost out on way more good deals in the future. A damaged reputation is a very, very real price to pay. So the problem is pretty clear. But what's the solution? Well, the good news is there's a super simple, scientifically backed plan you can use right in that moment. Let's call it the 10-second integrity test. It's a dead simple if-then plan. So here's the if. If you find yourself in a negotiation and you feel that little urge bubble up, that temptation to criticize something you don't actually care about just to knock the price down, then your move is simple. You pause. Don't say a word. Just stop for 10 seconds. That's it. 10 little seconds. I know it sounds almost too simple, but in that tiny gap, something really powerful happens inside your head. And in that 10-second pause, instead of making a subjective criticism, you ask one objective, verifiable question. With a smartphone, it could be something like, hey, can you actually show me the battery cycle count? This simple switch flips your brain out of that emotional, manipulative mode and kicks your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, into gear. You go from deception to data. And this really brings us to the big takeaway. This whole idea isn't about you never getting a good deal again. It's about how you get that deal, and understanding that honest words create real, lasting value in the long run. Now let's be super, super clear on this. The wisdom here doesn't mean you should never negotiate. It's not saying you can't ask for a lower price. Absolutely not. What it does mean is that your negotiation should be grounded in reality. Don't invent flaws. Don't blow things out of proportion. Base your offer on what's actually true about the item. At the end of the day, the goal is just to align your words with what you're actually thinking and seeing. And this isn't just some moral high ground thing. As we've seen, it's about being more effective in the long run. It's about building trust, protecting your reputation, keeping your brain's moral compass working correctly, and honestly, it's about your own self-respect. And that really brings us to the final thought. The marketplace, haggling, that's just one tiny example. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Where else in our lives, at work, in our relationships, with our families, can we gain real, incredible value just by making sure our words line up with what we truly believe?